Well, hello! I was recently prepping a country style mood board when I got to thinking about the difference between what we think of as country aesthetic in interiors versus the cottage aesthetic. I've talked about the cottage aesthetic before, but more in terms of architecture in my mid-century versus cottage video. But a few years ago, I wouldn't have even thought about what the difference is, or if there was a difference between these two aesthetics, or what we perceive to be a difference in the terms. I firmly believe that a well-designed interior is going to be a mixture of multiple styles. If you pigeonhole into one aesthetic and just stick with that one and don't kind of divert or add things from different places, it can feel almost stifled and too contrived, in my personal opinion. That being said, I think getting inspired by different aesthetics, different specific aesthetics, is how you can actually discover your personal design style. And that's why I want to dive into these today, because we are in pursuit of timeless style here in my house. And I'm of the opinion that country and cottage are timeless styles. And so I want to dive into what makes them so and what they even are, comparing and contrasting the two. According to the Webster's definition defining a cottage, it's a dwelling of a farm laborer or small farm. It's a usually small frame, one family house, a small detached dwelling unit at an institution, or a usually small house for vacation use. The term usually small is so weird to say. I don't really even know what that means. If it's not unusually small, then I assume it's just small. But far be it from me to correct Merriam-Webster. The term cottage is thrown around pretty liberally, and I guess part of that has to do with the definition of it just being a vacation home that is sort of small. I think of the Kendra Gaylord video about the heated rivalry house, where the last episode is called The Cottage, and it's like a very modern house that isn't even really small and is so far from my idea of a cottage that it's like baffling. But the idea of the aesthetic grew to more mainstream popularity, I think during COVID, during like the cottagecore movement, themes of escaping to the rural pastoral countryside and diving into like simple living. HGTV has an article called Cottage Design Style 101, where they say, think plenty of pattern, painted furniture, and weathered finishes, paired with baskets, natural fiber rugs, and a garden palette. But again, the images paired with this article are, to me at least, not what I think of when I think of cottage design. But it's definitely closer than the heated rivalry house. Homes and Gardens asks the question, what is cottage style, in an article? And in an interior designer interview of Lauren Gilberthorpe, she says, for me, cottage style is an interplay between comfort and whimsy. A narrative of textures and colors that speak to simplicity and warmth. It's a style that embraces the eclectic, where every piece tells a story and there's a harmonious disarray that somehow feels both curated and assembled. It's the embodiment of cozy, and one we love to embrace. It's no surprise that this British-run magazine is the one that has the definition that's closest to what I consider cottage, since the British are kind of the keepers of this aesthetic. Cottage style is really just a subsect of country style, after all. I didn't realize that when I started researching for this video. I thought maybe it was like a Venn diagram with overlap, but it's more like a square and a rectangle, where all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. All cottage style is country style, but not all country style is cottage style. If that makes sense. And American country is what I mean when I talk about comparing and contrasting these two aesthetics. American country is the style I was exposed to growing up. I am American after all, and I see American country style items for sale at yard sales, thrifting, estate sales. It's often on my mind. And so that's what I associated with that aesthetic title. This definitely has overlap with the classic farmhouse as well. So cottage style really is just European country style with a focus on the English country cottage. So let's remember, all cottage is country, but not all country is cottage. You got it? The Webster's definition of country says of or relating to a decorative style associated with life in the country, also possessing a style of rustic simplicity. I think I've shown you guys pages from this book before when I've talked about aesthetics in the past, but this one is all about country, and in some of the sections it shows a picture and then it says down below what makes it country. And in the description here it asks, what makes it country? Accessories that work. Chandelier and fireplace tools straight from the blacksmith's shop. Straw broom, two-handled wash basket, carved wooden bowl. And on the page next to it, it asks, what makes this country? The don't buy new, make do attitude of mismatched furniture. The graceful hurricane lamp rewired as a unique and functional chandelier. So there's an idea of taking things that maybe have been used for generations for one purpose to create something new. I feel like the shabby chic movement kind of sprung from this set of ideals. On the same page, it has advice called dollar-wise decorating, and it says, all those individual chairs you've collected over the years can be reincarnated as a new set for your dining nook. Just paint them all the same color. For real pizzazz, paint each chair a different high gloss shade, or if you prefer an updated country look, consider using pastel tones. That call to action feels extremely shabby chic to me. On this page, it also says, this look is colonial, rustic and utilitarian, reminiscent of an inn where weary travelers stopped for a hearty supper. Gone are the ornate ruffles and flounces of other period styles. In their stead are soft white walls, wood furniture in darker tones, and minimal accessories with the accent on practical. Underneath it all, a braided area rug adds warmth. I really enjoy using aspects of both, and I feel that the differences are pretty subtle in terms of what things are included in each specific style. And again, a lot of this is in my own mind of when I see an image, is that cottage or country? And then sometimes it is both. I have made some lists in a Venn diagram for each aesthetic to see where they differ and where they're the same. I used images that I found online, mostly Pinterest, and then also from my books that I have in my home. Of course, this is pretty subjective and it's a lot of my own personal opinion and design style and what I believe to be true. So you can definitely correct me, tell me if I'm wrong on these points. The main purpose is just to get inspired by these styles. I recently saw this viral video. They were pretty much saying, if you are white, then there is going to be a bird motif in your house. Some sort of bird decor will be present.
I have a bird and I am white.
And along that same vein, you're in a country house, there's going to be a chicken. There's gonna be some sort of chicken motif in some place. Often multiple chickens. They're gonna be statues. They're gonna be paintings. They're gonna be stenciled on the wall. You won't have to move your eyes that far until you find another chicken. When my parents moved into their new house, it had been a farmhouse in style, so my dad really wanted to lean into that aesthetic, and so all of us kids were like, great. And we got them so many chicken things. And they have chickens, so it works out, but I think at this point they are not receiving any more chicken items. I personally love a chicken motif, but I also know when to stop myself when it's getting too kitsch, a little too on the nose of like, I'm in a country house. Look at all my chicken stuff. Whereas when I think of cottages, the motif switches ever so slightly to ducks. My parents actually have both chickens and ducks. The motif inside and the actual fowl outside. But for whatever reason, in cottages, I see a little bit more duck motifs happening. And I have a few duck situations going on. Even down here, I'm looking at my duck print that I hung up a couple videos ago. Following that same line of thinking, in terms of the decor in both styles, in the cottage, we see more stripes, and in the country house, we see more plaid or check. But in both, we see florals. Plaid and check is very classic country, especially American country. It really brings you in. It's very like comforting, very simple feeling. It reminds you of picnics and flannel and working hard and then relaxing. Kind of got that juxtaposition. But both aesthetics absolutely use florals like crazy. Floral wallpaper, floral cushions, floral couches. I actually really wanted a floral couch because of this. There's just something so fun about a comfy, big, like squishy floral sofa, but I couldn't really find one I liked. So I settled on the free plaid one. I don't think you can see it, but it's back there. As my dad always says, what do you want for free? Your money back? In terms of the color schemes for these two aesthetics, we definitely see more neutrals, earth tones, and lighter colors in country style. And we definitely see deeper, richer, more brightly colored walls and items and trim in the cottage. In terms of furniture, I think we definitely see wood in both, like absolutely. But I think in the cottage style, we see more painted furniture, even brightly painted furniture. But in the country style, we see more distressed furniture, kind of leaning into, like I was saying earlier, that shabby chic of like the whitewash with just like a little bit of distressed texture. The decor in country style can sometimes have a feeling of what's considered or perceived to be like feminine. I see in the American country style, like heart cutouts in furniture or shelves. There's more frills and ruffles and lace and doilies. And these things have that perception of like the feminine aesthetic. Maybe we see those materials and motifs and textures on like dresses and gowns, which women were wearing, so it became associated with like femininity. I don't know, but I see those things a lot more in country. And on the flip side, cottage style has more tassels. If I'm trying to think of something in the same vein of those types of fixings, I feel like tassels is in that realm, and you definitely see them in cottage style and not so much country. Are tassels perceived as masculine? You tell me. One of the first things that comes to my mind when I think of country style is a stenciled motif design somewhere. In this book, Make It Country, they even show you how to make a stencil right here. Stenciled farm animals. And on the cottage side, for decorating your walls, I feel like there is more the idea of freehand mural painting, especially florals. Cottages are more filled with antiques as decor. There's a lot of trinkets going on, and there's a lot of very old style antique furnishings, whereas on the countryside, there is some of that, definitely with vintage mixed in. However, things feel a little bit newer, a little bit fresher in terms of the furnishings, and the decor items are a little bit more plain. But being more plain doesn't mean empty spaces. No. Country style loves to label. All the crockery will be labeled. And I have this in my kitchen. I have the containers that are labeled, but the actual things that are on the label are not the real things in the jars. Now let's talk sinks. In the cottage, I feel like you'll often see a metal sink, maybe brass or copper even. And on the flip side, in the country house, you definitely see the farmhouse sink, which is called the farmhouse sink because it's in the farmhouse, which is another aesthetic that is like this Venn diagram could like keep swirling. It could just keep going forever because things are connected and things branch off, you know? On the countryside, we can't forget about cross-stitching and needlepoint. You'll see that all over the place. Thinking on that theme of like cross-stitching, needlepointing, these are like hand crafts. And that is a big aspect of country style, is making things with your hands, homemade items. Like, again, referencing this book is filled with ways for you to make things for your country home. But there's a whole craft section, making padded hangers, painting wooden houses to make your own little town, the classic corn husk doll, quilting. But I think that's one thing that feels different between country and cottage, is that country is very handmade. It's very much like, yeah, let's bundle this bouquet and dry it. Let's make our own furniture. It feels very DIY in a lot of ways, but the cottage side feels a little bit more collected. These things are being found and then brought in. Country feels like more we're making things with what we have. It's just like a feeling. And then the biggest difference between these two aesthetics is the size of the home, the height of the ceilings. Again, referencing the book International Country by Judith and Martin Miller, they talk about the cluttered cottage. It says, the cluttered cottage is the prime example. It exists in everyone's mind's eye as a treasury of English, blue and white china and spongeware, the whole delicious muddle enhanced by a riotous profusion of flowers on the wallpaper behind. In the same mind's eye, a small Italian hillside villa is an airy space, punctuated here and there by terracotta urns. The English rural class had no more possessions than the Italians, but their houses tended to be smaller, so their belongings went further in filling up the space. That was the logical result of the difference in scale between English and Italian homes. Eventually became the hallmark of their respective styles. And this cluttered style is not purely English, though the English cottage is the epitome of it. In any country home where space is at a premium, the cluttered look will prevail. So I feel like that's the real difference of the aesthetics, and why they have become two separate things in my mind is because the cottage is a smaller interior, and a country house doesn't have to be small. A country house can be any size and therefore won't be a cottage. In the same book, they say, you don't need to own a historic country home to indulge in period-style interior decoration. A modern house, which has been built with traditional materials and features, or has had them added in a sympathetic manner, can be furnished with antiques to provide the perfect compromise for today. So I feel like when you have a smaller home, you can really dive into the cottage aesthetic and thrive in that sense of coziness, clutter, colorful interiors. And then on the other side, if your house has more space, is a bit more airy, then naturally I feel like you're going to end up with something more of the general American or European country aesthetic, if this type of country style is what you're trying to achieve. Another difference in how these aesthetics came to be is the climate. This book also says, soft, time-worn colors like clouded creams, leaf greens, and washed browns are more common in cooler climate farmhouses, while bright whites and deep hues abound in warmer climes. There was a necessity due to weather and climate. Things had to be a certain way in colder areas versus warmer areas. And so that's how we got these different aesthetics from different regions of the world. To quote International Country again, the cramped cottage became the epitome of all that is most romantic about England's countryside, because it was cultivated as such by the 19th century romantics. To William Morris and the other leaders of the arts and crafts movement, the small, self-sufficient cottage represented a return to a wholesome way of life and a rejection of the grime and uniformity of industrialized Britain. The arts and crafts architect Charles Voysey urged people to try the effect of a well-proportioned room with whitewashed walls, plain carpet, and simple oak furniture, and nothing in it but necessary articles of use, and one pure ornament in the form of a simple vase of flowers. But Voysey, like Morris, made his living not from whitewash, but from floral patterned wallpapers, and so the romantic image of the cottage came to be papered over with flowers. So I feel like similarly to how there was a swing in this romanticization of the cottage, of rural living, this was kind of in reaction to the technology-driven world and COVID, having everyone only seeing each other through screens. There was a definite thirst for a simple way of life and a time to have a living space that has nature all around. Judith and Martin Miller speak about the evolution of the English country cottage and how the style came to be through the workers that lived on small cottages on wealthy landowners' property. And there was a separation between the two, like the rich area versus the poor working class area, but there was a lot of influence taken from the great house. There were hedges that separated the rich and the poor. The hedges themselves helped to generate English cottage style, as they were created by the rich landowners to close off the old common lands of the poor, driving them into the small houses that spawned the most romantic country style of all. I really love that idea of the rich kind of creating this barrier, but then folks that were actually working, they were seeing the inside of the house and they were kind of taking ideas. The book talked about how the workers would take last season items, things that were going out of fashion, into their own homes, or plants that were going to be replaced with new and improved, fancier flowers and foliage. They would take them and they would plant them in their own gardens, and that's how the cottage garden came to be. So we've got most of the differences in our Venn diagram. We have a couple similarities, but let's dive into the similarities. Where is the overlap? I mean, I think it's kind of obvious that there's a lot of overlap because they're both literally country styles. Natural fibers, for sure. And the rugs, the curtains, the blankets, the upholstery, everything is a natural fiber in cottage and in the country house. I touched on this already, but quilts. You gotta have a quilt. Me and Esther actually talked about me doing a video about quilts. There's such a rich history in the culture of quilting, like where it came from, where it stemmed, where it went, how different cultures in the US interacted with it. It's really beautiful. So if you want a quilting video, tell me. We definitely see cloth lampshades in both, though I will say I think we see more metal lampshades in the country style and a little more cloth in the cottage style. In both, you see hanging plates. Plates as art, hanging up on the walls, sometimes in clusters, sometimes just one. And in that same avenue is also the plate rack, the wooden hanging plate rack, or the plate rack that's kind of positioned over the sink. Having plates visible is very much in both aesthetics. The most obvious one of all, of course, is baskets. They're hanging up, they're stacked on top of stuff, they're piled up in a corner. And you guys know I love baskets. I actually had to cut myself off. I've been doing really well. I haven't bought a basket in maybe a year, if you don't count the woven trunks that I bought from an estate sale. I don't think that counts as a basket. Both have stone and tile. So lots of natural materials. We've got tile floors, brick floors, stone floors. All of these are definitely interchangeable in both styles. We see a lot of hearths in the kitchens. We got some stone ovens going on, some brick ovens. And then lastly on this list, we got embroidery. Embroidered cushions, curtains, general decor. Embroidery is there. Embroidery is ever present in both aesthetics. Going back to the Make It Country book, in a lot of the sections where it asks what makes it country, I see a lot of the same theme. A sturdy table big enough for lots of family and friends. A weather chest used as a coffee table, emphasizing that the room is meant to be used, not just looked at. The open family room, dining room space, reminiscent of a pioneer cabin. Beauty and function with livability. The emphasis seems to definitely be on hosting, gathering people together, bringing family into one place to hang out and just enjoy life together. That's a continuous theme I see in the country aesthetic. Whereas on the flip side, cottage aesthetic, it's not that it doesn't have those elements, but there's a little bit more of the emphasis on beauty and collecting items and kind of hunkering down and enjoying your cozy spaces that you've created. I think those are the things I love about both aesthetics. I take these things from both and create a balance. So I put these lists together using my resources, but I thought it might be fun to go around my house and see if I can do a scavenger hunt of sorts and find every listed item that I put in country, cottage, and in both. So let's go see if I have it all. Painted furniture, check. Antique, check. Low ceiling, check. Colorful, check. Ducks, check. Stripes, check. Trinkets, check. Mural, check. Quilt, check. Natural fiber rug, check. Wood furniture, check. Wallpaper, cloth lampshades, hanging plates, check. Florals, check. Baskets, check. Stone or tile, check. Embroidery, check. Chicken, check. Plaid, check. Distressed furniture, check. Vintage, check. Labeled jars, check. Needlepoint or cross stitch, check. Handmade items, check. I made both of those pictures. Metal lampshade, check. I'm gonna count these as my tassels. Check. Lace, check. I know I used this already as my embroidery, but I feel like I could also use it as doily and ruffles, question mark. I'm in charge, so I make the rules. And here's my final score. I know this is not a comprehensive list for these aesthetics. If I missed any of your favorite aspects from these styles, let me know. I wanted to end by saying that country style in general, or the way we perceive it, the way these books describe it, is very Eurocentric, very American and European. And the fact is that there are countrysides in every country all over the world, and they are not included in this international country book. The only countries it lists are English, French, Italian, Spanish, Scandinavian, and American. I know Scandinavian's not a country, but I feel like a lot of times in the interior design world, places outside of what's been listed here is kind of boiled down to the country's name and then the style. I'm personally very influenced by Singaporean and Indonesian Peranakan interiors, but I wouldn't maybe know the difference necessarily between the interior of a country Peranakan home versus a city Peranakan home. And that's my own ignorance from what I've been exposed to versus not. This video I wanted to focus on my most influential styles, the styles that have the most hold on me, and that's, you know, country and cottage. And so that's why those are the ones I talked about. But I know there's so much more out there, and there are things that influence me that I don't even know the names of. And so I'd love to explore more into that and maybe make more videos going into some of those aesthetics. So thank you so much for watching. Maybe tell me in the comments what interior design aesthetic influences you the most in your personal style. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
The life of Rosalind is the life for